We just made it a giant food token. That's hilarious. Wait, what do they do here? Exchange control of eyes everywhere and target non-land permanent activate only as a sorcery. Oh, really? Wow. Absolutely disgusting, everybody. Hello, my fiery friends. The Infernoman here with the latest in budget deck technology. And for today's deck tech, we're going to be going into the historic Brawl format to play a deck that has a bunch of 8-legged freaks that are going to try to overwhelm our opponent with all these creepy crawlies. This is Shelob's Spiders. Now, of course, before we get into it, let's explain, of course, the details of the deck. And going over the stats real quick, we have an average mana curve about 2.9. We're going to be in Golgari colors of black and green. We have 35 creatures total in the deck and 28 non-creature spells. Specifically of those non-creature spells, it's going to be 9 instants, 10 sorceries, 5 artifacts, 5 enchantments, 2 planeswalkers, and 36 lands. Let's get something straight before we get started. I absolutely find spiders to be disgusting. I hate them so much.
Spiders are scary.
But I do understand that spiders in our ecosystem and in our world do provide a service. So we're going to, of course, play nice with our spiders today and these 8-legged freaks, and hopefully we can just overwhelm our opponent with enough value that we can get our victory. There are going to be a couple of ways we can get to victory besides the beatdown plan, but first let's go over our actual commander in the deck. Basically, we're going to be playing with Shelob, child of Ungoliant. I think I butchered that, but it is what it is. In any case, this is a legendary creature spider demon that's an 8/8 that costs 6 mana to cast. It has Death Touch and Ward 2. Other spiders you control have Death Touch and Ward 2. Whenever another creature dealt damage this turn by a spider you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a food artifact with 2, and tap to sack the artifact, you gain 3 life, and it loses all other card types. Whew, that's actually quite a bit of text to go over. But in any case, the simple idea is, from a lore perspective, if you know Lord of the Rings, Shelob, of course, stings her opponents. They don't kill them instantly. It just converts them later on into food that she can then digest later on. So she kind of just does that with her opponents. That is absolutely disgusting, by the way, but that's basically spiders for you. Now, I had to kind of dig deep a little into Arena to see how many spiders we can actually play, and I'm going to be real with you, there's not as many good spiders as I thought there were. There's just barely enough here to cover the deck, but we still are going to rock it, and we have actually just enough, as I just mentioned, to make the deck worthwhile even on a budget. So let's cover basically all of our spiders first off, and then we'll go over the support plan of how our spiders will get to that victory. Starting, of course, in the 1-drops, we have Chain Web, Arachneer, we have Mirkwood Spider, great early game spiders, and of course that Death Touch is going to be really relevant with Shelob later on, along with a couple other creatures that are going to really want to have Death Touch. In the 2-drop slot, we have Copper Longlegs, you have Ruin Recluse, you have Snare Spinner. With these 2-drops right here, they're not really anything crazy, but again, the advantage they have is they either have good defense with reach, and otherwise you can utilize them with their secondary abilities to put some extra value on other creatures or themselves. In the 3-drop slots, there things get more fun. We have Glowstone Recluse, we have Notwild Recluse, we have Llanowar Green Widow, we have Netcaster Spider, Sporecap Spider, Sporeweb Weaver, Twin Silk Spiders, Web Spinner Cuff, and Obelisk Spiders. So these 3-drops, there's actually quite a bit of variety in what they do. So again, many of them have reach, which is great to make sure our opponent's flyers do not go over us. But one of the biggest advantages that some of these spiders have is they actually are pretty solid blockers. Cards like Netcaster Spider, for example, get themselves buffed up whenever they block a creature with flying. Cards like Obelisk Spider can put -1/-1 counters on other creatures. We actually do have a couple of cards that take advantage of this, and again, I'll explain how that works in a little bit. As far as our bigger spiders, in the 4-drop slots, we have Broodweaver, we have Giant Spider, we have Hoarding Recluse, we have Ishkanah Broodmother, an Alchemy card, which, again, I don't like Alchemy cards, but we're going to need to work with everything we can in this deck. We have Arasta of the Endless Web, Rot Widow Pack, Skyfisher Spider, Drider, Endercap, Ishkanath Grath Widow, Webwinger Changeling. Actually, I realize Webwinger Changeling is technically a shapeshifter, not a spider, but it actually kind of looks like a spider in the art, so we're going to give that a pass. As far as select spiders that you want to keep an eye on, in the early game, cards like Mirkwood Spider are great because they have Death Touch, and also you can give another target legendary creature Death Touch until end of turn. You have cards like Obelisk Spider that can put -1/-1 counters on a creature instead of doing damage to them, which is really great, and we can weaken up and soften up with some other creatures out there. We have some solid blockers such as cards like Netcaster Spider, Spider, for example, or cards like Gem Close, Recluse, which can mutate and put counters on stuff. We have cards that, of course, can do some great blocking. We have other cards that can also create more spiders, such as Arasta of the Endless Web. This is also solid for us if our opponent does have a lot of instants or sorceries. We can create a bunch of little spiders, which can ensure that we can go super wide with the deck. Some of our cards have dual abilities on them, like Ender Cap right here, where not only is it a reach Spider Beast, but also you can use its instant ability to destroy a target creature with flying. Now, granted, not every single spider is going to be a hard hitter. Let's be honest here. If I have to use cards like Giant Spider, we're kind of digging and scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But despite that, there are still solid cards in here. Even the ones that are somewhat on the weak side, they can still do some decent damage, or at least provide some good value for us. As far as how we actually have to then support our spiders even further, we have to, again, as I mentioned, dig into some other ways of getting a little creative with the deck. So we have a lot of shapeshifters, which are honorary spiders. We have cards like Littjara Glade Warden. We have Graveshifter. Cards like these can help bring some of our spiders back. We have Realm Walker to help dig through our deck and keep casting more spiders off the top of our library. Cards like Venomous Changeling also have Death Touch. Death Touch is going to be really relevant in just a second, which you'll probably notice right here. Mass Vandal, of course, for our enchantment and artifact hate. Guardian Gladewalker to put another +1/+1 counter on something. Changeling Outcast can't be blocked, but also it cannot block. However, this is going to be great if we can get some Death Touch on it, and you'll see why, because we're also rocking Finn the Fangbearer. Finn the Fangbearer I'm going to consider is more of our secondary way of getting to victory. If you haven't seen this card, basically the card just reads it has Death Touch. It's a human warrior, legendary creature, where if a creature we control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. So as you may have figured, of course, with this and Shelob out, our spiders will have Death Touch on them, which can then trigger off the poison counters, which can then overwhelm our opponent with poison, and hopefully we can get to victory that way. And in some ways with our spiders, it actually is much more effective than the beatdown plan. A couple other cards that can support that game plan is we have a single copy of Venerated Rot Priest, which can also put poison counters whenever a creature we control becomes a target of a spell, whether we cast it or our opponent casts it. This actually can then close out the game sometimes on its own if our opponent is not being careful. The other way we're going to support our whole spider game plan with our instant sorceries. Starting with the instants, we have, of course, the usual removal you might expect. Cards like Fatal Push, we have Heartless Act, Infernal Grass. We have a couple of clever ways of kind of dealing with our opponent with cards such as Infectious Bite, gives another poison counter on our opponent, and really great in that sense. We have cards like Master's Rebuke, also as instant ways of dealing damage. If we can utilize this with any one of our spiders that has Death Touch, it can then take out and instantly any creature that we have to deal with. Cards that can bring back some of our spiders that we really don't want to lose, such as Infused with Vitality. It even provides Death Touch and gives us life, so it's a really great card with extra value. We have some modal cards like Malachor Rebirth and cards like Vastwood Fortification, which can be tap lands if they need to, but also can either buff our creature or keep it alive in case of our opponent attempts to try to remove it. As for the slower sorceries, we have, of course, additional removal cards like Bloodchief's Thirst. We have Bone Shards. For other cards that can help us dig through our deck for some lands, we have cards like Bushwhack and Thirsting Roots. Thirsting Roots also proliferates, which is really great for us since quite a few of our cards give either +1/+1 counters, -1/-1 counters, or poison counters. Cards like Drown and Ichor, additional proliferate triggers, and also is removal. Atraxas Fall is a great card as a catch-all to destroy basically anything that isn't, of course, a planeswalker. And then we have cards to help us ramp, such as Explore. Bala Ged Recovery can also, again, be a tap land. Drag or bring back any one of our other cards from the graveyard back to our hand. Spider Spawning can create a ton of spiders if we have enough mana to cast it, and has Flashback, which is even great for us. As far as additional cards, we have, of course, our artifacts and enchantments, such cards such as Kaya's Ghost Form, additional recovery to make sure that anything that gets hit with either destruction or even exile can come back to the battlefield. Reaper's Talisman can give any one of our creatures Death Touch, and it's great if they swing as for single damage to, of course, drain and gain some life for us. Vata Reaper, a really powerful card for only a single mana. It's a little slow going, but if we can build this up, we can keep bringing back other spiders and from the graveyard back to the battlefield. To buff our spiders even more, we have cards like Tribute to the World Tree, which can be great. Some of our cards are power 3 or greater, which allows us to draw some cards out of that. And of course, we can put some +1/+1 counters on our creatures if they are a little weak. Remember that, again, most of our spiders are already weak as is, so adding those counters on them can make them really beefy and very tough to deal with in combat. Another card that can help bring back some more of our stuff and can flip into a land, Journey to Eternity, flipping into Azal Cave of Eternity. Really great card here. Another catch-all way that we can also use to finish off our opponent, Binding the Old Gods. Helps us, of course, ramp, helps destroy a non-land permanent, and if we can get to that Death Touch ability, putting it on our spiders, this, along with Finn the Fangbearer, can close out a game almost on the spot. As far as big finishers in the deck, we have Loth's Spider Queen. This card has to be, of course, in the deck because it's on flavor, creates more spiders for us. As far as the other way we can get to it, technically Vraska Betrayer Sting is not actually a spider, but at the same time, the card does have kind of has a bit of a pseudo flavor theme to it. And then finally, one of our biggest cards that we can utilize is the Great Henge. Great Henge, of course, will be a lot cheaper to cast later on when we have a bunch of spiders out. We can gain life with it, we can ramp with it. This card basically just does everything. So of course we have to have it in the deck, even on a budget. And then finally, to round out the package, let's talk about the lands. We have 9 snow-covered swamps, we have 17 snow-covered forests, some dual tap lands. Of course, this is a budget deck, so that's all we can work with. Get your command tower, of course, a demolition field to destroy a target non-basic land, mostly against creature lands or any utility lands our opponent has to deal with. Evolving Wilds to ramp, and a Terramorphic Expanse to also dig out more lands, and finally Rivers Overlook to round out the package. Whew! Well, I don't know about you. I'm out of breath trying to explain all of this, and of course this Brawl deck tag. So enough of me talking. Let's take this deck into the historic Brawl format and see how well it does. But before we continue, if you do like any of the content that I do, please like, follow, and subscribe wherever you watch the content so you don't miss out on any of the gameplay, booster pack openings, deck decks, and so much more. Alright, my fiber friends, here we go. We are playing Shelob Spiders in Historic Brawl, and alright, well, this is actually not too bad right here. We have enough lands to start casting our thing, so we're going to keep this. I'm feeling actually pretty good about this one, so let's see. Can we get there, everybody? I believe in us. Alright, so with that, Snow-Covered Forest. Open stream. Okay, they're playing Gandariel. Alright, that's okay for now. Snow-Covered Swamp. Ruin Recluse. Our 1/1 reach and death touch creature. Track down. Digging for stuff. That's okay. They found the land. They play the land. Okay, so with that, we will play Snow-Covered Swamp. Not Recluse. Go swinging here. Well, we're getting close to getting Great Henge off, which is going to be awesome for us if we can just pull that. Okay. More Guardian. That's fine. Snow-Covered Swamp. We will Fishkin off Brood Mother. Alright, so. Alright, well, we're doing great here. We go swinging. Opponent blocks. That's okay. The ring tempts, but it can't be put on anything because they have no creature now. Just get a land here. We actually are good. And, well, we didn't get it yet, but that's okay, everybody. Okay. We will play... I think we will play Litjara, Glade Warden. Tap Balaged. We'll swing here with just the Ruins Recluse. Do they block? Nope, they don't. I figured not. Okay, so... This isn't Alchemy. Okay. Okay, 2 cards from our graveyard. Alright. Well, our opponent's not going to really be doing much here. So with that, do we do it? I guess we play Great Henge now. Opponents? Okay, they let it go, which is awesome for us. No attacks yet. We'll pass. We need to keep a blocker up just for the time being. Ooh, okay. Bounce it back. That's okay still, because we still have a Death Touch creature. Oh, if only we just had at least one poison counter, this would be actually pretty sweet of a hand. Okay. Alright, opponent, what do you got? Scroll of Isildur. I can't pronounce words, everybody. These elven Lord of the Rings words, I swear, they just mess with me. Alright. Well, we're gonna get some free life. They bounce... Oh, they actually get to take it? Gain control of it as long as the ring tempts you. Beyond annoying. Okay, that's fine, everybody, it's fine. Wait, just double checking here. As long as you control... Okay. Okay, it's fine. We're gonna make it work, everybody. Opponent doing their thing. Ruin, Recluse, blocking. We do lose, obviously, the creature either way, but it has Death Touch, so we just kill off their Ring Bearer. Scurry Oak. Alright, so with that, I think we will just Accelerate this. I know that looked a little weird, everybody, but this encourages them to then speed up that process. We will sacrifice our changeling here. We need to draw cards. That's what we need right now. Okay, so we got some lands, which is great for us. We will Sporecap Spider. Not a very strong creature, but it has great defense, so we can just block for days. I realize now we should have put in a card that gives us tower defense. That actually would have been better for us. Something I didn't think about. Fable Passage. Alright, we get a land. Opponent is ramping a lot here, but I still believe in us. Alright, Gandero comes back. Scurryo gets a little bigger here, but that's okay. If they tap out here, that would be awesome for us. Ancient Imperiosaur. A little frightening, but that's okay, everybody. Just gotta believe. Okay, so with that, Forest. Shelob coming down. We gain some life and draw this card here. Netcaster Spider. Pump it up, draw a card. Okay, so with that, no attacks. Ancient Imperiosaur is frightening, but now our creatures have Death Touch. And they all have Ward, which is great, so that prevents our opponent from doing any of their shenanigans. Greyhaven's Navigator. They will scry. They swing here. Sporecap Spider blocks. We go down to 18. Their creature dies, but we just made it into... we just made it a giant food token. That's hilarious. That is hilarious, everybody. That's jokes right there. Okay, so with that, spiders spawning. Make 4 spiders here. Ishkanov, Brood Mother. Wow, okay. Now we're doing our thing here.
Oh, yeah. It's all coming together.
This is actually awesome. Okay, so with that, we swing here. Does our opponent block? Yes, they do. They do it with their chump blockers. That's okay. We slowly just start picking off their creatures. And, okay, well, we're making squirrel food? That sounds kind of disgusting. Okay, okay. Deliberate. What's also nice is we also have a Malika Reaper, so we can keep our Shelob alive. Opponent's actually out of action. And also, we can still block that Apex Hybrid, which will be hilarious. Alright, opponent is getting Inherited Envelope. No idea. What does this card do again? Okay, that's fine. I'm honestly surprised right now. Our deck is actually doing its thing right now. We made some food out of weird creatures, and yeah, we have a lot of spiders now. So I think if we can just get a way to go around this, we should be okay here to start closing out the game quickly. Okay, Ariel does this thing again. How many creatures do we have in the graveyard now? We got 4. Okay. Wait, what can we get with this? Okay, so with that, tap 2 here. Okay, we will exile these 2 cards. Start drafting some more spiders for us. Okay, get a Netcaster Spider. Snow-covered Forest. Ishkanov Graph Widow. Draw a card. Ooh, we can actually start doing its thing next turn. This is actually hilarious, everybody. Okay. Netcaster Spider. Draw a card. Okay. We are actually doing it right now. This is actually hilariously awesome. Okay. We'll hold back Shelob. Ishkanov. Do you start blocking opponents? They do. Down to 14. Make some food. Disgusting squirrels, but it still works, everybody. Our deck is doing stuff. I'm really happy with this. This is awesome. All right. Okay. So I think we need to go full aggro. Ward 2. Okay, hold on. Wait, what do they do here? Exchange control of eyes everywhere and target non-land permanent activate only as a sorcery. Oh, really? Wow. Absolutely disgusting, everybody. It's okay. It's okay. We will get a card here. Okay. Land down. Graph Widow. Ping our opponents. I think that's the only way we're going to have to win here. Okay, so with that, explore. Draw a card. Oh, okay. Yes, I forgot we got there. Woohoo! Oh man, that was actually awesome. I honestly thought we were going to get screwed right there. Hold on. Okay. So I honestly thought for a second we were going to start losing because we lost our Shelob. But the good news was I forgot that Ishkanoth could just start draining our opponent here because we got a ton of spiders. So yeah, that was awesome. I love this deck. This deck's great. And there you have it, everybody. So that was Shelob Spiders for you on a budget. So as always, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Are you a fan of how this deck turned out? To be perfectly honest, I actually was much more impressed with the deck than I thought it was going to be. I was expecting the deck to be a little lackluster, but it actually turned out pretty well. So I'm really satisfied with it. To be honest, also, I don't know if I would want to change anything. Obviously, I can think of only one thing to do. So rather than just do a full-on side part where I usually go over a full-on upgrade for the deck, you probably could keep this deck as is and it functions perfectly fine. But as always, if you really are insistent in upgrading anything, of course, upgrade your mana base. I can't stress that enough. Obviously, that's the #1 thing whenever you do a deck. When in doubt, always upgrade the mana base first, so at least this way you'll have much more better consistency with your deck, and if nothing else, you can still get away with a lot of the jank creatures. Now, as for my final thoughts on the deck, overall, I'm just going to say it right now. If you are a fan of Shelob, I know, of course, it's got a lot of love in the community currently in a variety of formats, besides, of course, Arena. There are tons of people already playing the card in Commander. There are tons of people going all which ways with it. So if you do take this deck and maybe you actually want to build it in paper, by all means, more power to you. You'll have a lot more better options out there for better support, better ways of getting to victory, finding alt win cons. Overall, I still think, though, even the version we have is a decent version. In my personal opinion, I think the version that we have today, I think could actually be a decent base if you want to start with a budget and just build from there. Obviously, cards that are in this deck that are usually extremely expensive, such as the Great Henge, you might want to wait on. If you can actually get a copy, though, even better for you. So however you want to do it, but overall, if you are a fan of building up your value with a bunch of creatures little by little, if you are a fan of jank tribal decks out there, heck, if you're just a fan of Lord of the Rings, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you to see what other cards would you like to see us build in the format. But overall, finally, if you do manage to put this together, by all means, once you get your opponent to succumb to your poisonous ways, you will definitely, and I assure you, not be disappointed. That's all I have for you today. Thanks again for watching, everyone. And just remember that no matter what you do play in the game of life, always be sure to burn bright. Later.